Hey everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we are finally going to be doing my Season 6 finale theories. Of course, when I was on holiday in Canada, they released... God, what did we get? We got so many like trailers and clips and stuff. I was just like, really? Now? Thanks. So we're gonna go over what I think might be happening, although I personally feel we have more information for Secret Protocol than Nemesis, but I absolutely could be wrong. I think what I'm going to do is after Secret Protocol comes out, go through all the screenshots I've got, see what is left over, see what didn't get included, and then we will come back after obviously Secret Protocol has aired and do a Nemesis only theory video, if that's okay with you all. And as always, I don't know if there's been any leaks for these two episodes, so I'm just going to put it here, this thing. Don't, if you already know stuff, shush, please. If you want to ruin your experience of the show for yourself, that is fine, but other people do not, and a lot of people watch me for that reason. So please, don't say anything. Thank you very much. So, on to Secret Protocol. And I am going to go over and kind of do it in what I think might be the chronological order of this episode, as in the events that happen in it. However, I want to talk about first Uncle Wang, which I think is the key to this episode, because I think there could be either two Uncle Wangs, or it is Lila in an insanely good disguise. I do not think Lila has akumatized herself as Uncle Wang, purely because, whilst we know the butterfly holder can akumatize themselves, I don't think they can akumatize themselves to look like someone else and then akumatize that person. I don't think you can akumatize yourself twice at the same time. You could akumatize yourself twice in a row if you akumatize, deakumatize yourself, and then akumatize yourself again. But I don't see how you could akumatize yourself to look like someone else and then akumatize yourself whilst already akumatized, you know what I mean? So I don't think that's what's going on here. I either think there are two Uncle Wangs, one being the actual Uncle Wang, and then one being Lila either akumatized as Uncle Wang or in a disguise, or just Lila in a disguise. So, I think in one scenario, I think the real Uncle Wang arrives. He arrives the night before Sabine's birthday, they go to the party, something happens to ruin the party, he gets angry/upset, he gets akumatized, and he grabs Marinette under orders from Lila, that way she can't transform into Ladybug, and if Ladybug doesn't turn up to the fight, it's more confirmation to Lila that Marinette has to be Ladybug. However, Marinette, some way or another, gets free, perhaps Cat Noir frees her, she's his girlfriend, even though she doesn't know he's Cat Noir. He's still aware that she's his girlfriend. He obviously doesn't want her to be hurt, particularly when her family's involved. And Uncle Wang goes around with his, apparently, jackfruit or durian hammer. What fruit is this? God, I wanted it to be a pineapple. I was really excited for the pineapple. Now I'm really upset it's not a pineapple. However, assuming that the Uncle Wang who arrives and is akumatized is the real Uncle Wang, after he's been deakumatized, at this point, Lila basically swaps with him. So again, I know a lot of people think a rival Uncle Wang is Lila. I think that only works as if she is wearing a disguise, because she can't akumatize herself and then akumatize herself again at the same time. It doesn't work like that. So Uncle Wang's new bestie, Lila, takes him somewhere where he's trapped, can't get out or whatever, and she replaces Uncle Wang at the Dupencheng household, and Uncle Wang manages to get free, get access to a phone, rings his knees, is like, Sabine, I'm trapped, this crazy girl took me, come help me. But at that point, the other Uncle Wang has already arrived home, so Sabine at that point is like, who's in the spare room? So I think it's either all of that, as in he gets replaced after the Akuma attack, or it was Lila in disguise the whole time, and she akumatizes herself into Kung Food. Like I said before, we already know the butterfly Miraculous holder can akumatize themselves, and we also know you can prepare the Akuma in advance and kind of hide it somewhere. Like we just saw it in Queen of the Dread Zone, we also saw it in episodes like Optogami, so that's more than possible. I just don't think, unless Lila's powers have changed miraculously and immensely, I just don't think you actually can akumatize yourself twice at the same time, unless I'm completely wrong and she now has the power to do that, which would be really interesting and scary. So that's the Uncle Wang thing, that's what I think is going on with that. But now let's go in the order of the events. I think the episode might open with Marinette not answering her phone to Adrian because she's feeling guilty. She's also feeling a lot of anxiety about just in general, the events of this season and everything that's gone on. And then we move to the heroes down below at Town Hall in the metro station. And I want to point out here that I think there are 2 scenes in the metro station, 2 separate scenes, and I think one's actually in the other episode. The one on the left is the one with Marinette sends them the 2000 protocols over text, and the one on the right, it's not that scene, it's a different scene. So as you can see, all the heroes are stood in different places. So in the 2000 protocol scene, we have Purple Tigress on the far left, and then Pegasus on the far right. In the other one, Pegasus is now on the far left, and we have Rena Rouge and Carapace on the far right. These are 2 different scenes, and you can see everyone else has stood in roughly different places. The only person who's kind of stood roughly in the same place both times is King Monkey, but otherwise everyone is stood in different places. We also know in the other scene, the one with Rena Rouge and Carapace at the front, Argos isn't in that one. It's the one that has like that weird Avengers Assemble thing going on. I don't really know what that's about. We know Argos isn't in that scene. Also in that scene, Cat Noir is stood next to Ladybug. In the scene where she lists the 2000 protocols, Cat Noir is stood with the rest of the Miraculous. So unless this is an absolutely egregious animation error, which I don't think it is, I'm pretty sure these are 2 different scenes completely. So opens with Marinette being anxious, and then we go to her, fueling that anxiety herself because she's written all of these protocols. And I get it, for example, we've had episodes like Vampigami this season where Tiki was like, there's a camera, you're being watched. It makes sense for Marinette to try and come up with some fail-safes, I understand. And perhaps after this scene is the reason why Argos is not present in the other hero scene. So I know there's been a lot of theories going around about Marinette being a senti monster, temporarily, not permanently like Adrian is, and Kagami and Felix. I don't mean it in that way, just basically to try and save her, basically, if they have a real Marinette and then also a fake Marinette, which makes it harder for Lyle to catch her because she doesn't know which one's real. However, whilst I like the idea and I understand the logic behind it, we all know Felix's stance on creating senti monsters, which, well, I agree with it, but I don't think he agrees with it that much either, because in Pretension he went on about how important they are, and then he made a projector and representation and destroyed it, so I don't know what he's on. But anyway, I think he would potentially say no. Maybe he has a different view on the projector because it's not like a human being? I don't know. But he was pretty upset about Red Moon, who wasn't a human being either. So maybe he would just be like, look, I'm sorry, I cannot make a senti monster of you, my cousin's girlfriend, and then kill you, because no. He's a bit of a reformed psychopath this season, and even though I don't agree with him having a redemption arc and apologising off screen, he has certainly changed as a character, and I just think it would be odd for him to revert to that, in my opinion. So he probably says no, and then goes home and does nothing for the rest of the season, because he's so annoyed with her. And he has been useless all season, which is a first for him, since he usually does a lot more than this. So back at home, Marinette's like, oh fine, she goes to bake her mum's birthday cake with her dad, and that evening, after she's shown her mum the birthday party setup they have for her ready in the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, whatever you want to call it, Uncle Wang arrives. And at this point, I'm not sure if this is the real one, or if it's Lila in disguise, but either way, a version of Uncle Wang is present. The next day, they have the party. It is somehow, one way or another, sabotaged. Uncle Wang gets upset. He gets akumatized. Again, whether this is Lila in disguise akumatized or is the real one, I don't know. And during this Akuma attack, if it is Lila, she just goes out of her way to catch Marinette. So perhaps Marinette was at fault, or maybe it's under the guise of, oh, I'm just trying to protect my family during this Akuma fight. Or if it's not Lila akumatized, it's the real Uncle Wang. She communicates with him and lets him know, hey mate, you actually need to go and capture your great niece, please and thank you. Is it great niece? Oh, I always get confused when it's all the family members like this. He's Sabine's uncle. So he's Marinette's great uncle, so she is great niece, his grand niece. I don't have family members this old. All of my grandparents are dead. I don't know how this works. Anyway, however, I am a little bit confused here. So we know Ladybug calls to the fight Cat Noir, Carapace, and someone else, because we see her scrolling through her contacts. I'm assuming it's Mina Torok since he shows up here. However, Carapace arrives on the scene. Cool, I'd expect him to. But in this little sequence, he gets hit with, like, I'm assuming it's just a ball of dough, whilst Uncle Wang is carrying Marinette. Now we know this Marinette can't be an illusion, because he wouldn't be able to touch her, she would disappear. So we know that this is the real Marinette. So how on earth does Ladybug manage to call Carapace to this fight without being Ladybug? I think there are two options here. is one, Carapace just shows up on his own, and Ladybug later on in the fight calls Cat Noir, Carapace and Minotaurux to discuss something else with him, like, oh, get here now, I have this idea, sort of thing. It could be that. Or Alia, as Rena Rouge, is casting an illusion of Ladybug whilst Marinette is incapacitated as one of these secret protocols she came up with. That Alia perhaps read that one, thankfully, since there were 2,000 of them, God. However, whilst I think Ladybug showing up to the fight as an illusion is very plausible, can illusions call people, as in superhero illusions? Can they use a yo-yo and call other people? I don't know. I'm not saying they can't. It's just I don't know because I've never seen them do it before. I don't know. Either way, Marinette gets free. Like I said, maybe Cat Noir rescues her again because that's his girlfriend. And she replaces the illusion. The real Ladybug shows up to the fight. She fights her uncle, but she is aware that this Akuma is targeting her and her family. For example, in Heartfixer, the Akuma was definitely targeting her. In Vampigami, there was a camera waiting for her in the bathroom. She knows there's targeting going on, so she de-transforms, asks Alia to make another illusion of her for the end of the Akuma fight. Maybe she does the Miraculous Ladybug first before that, though. It's some kind of Kwame Buster situation. And Marinette goes to join her family for the Akuma wrap-up scene, as they usually have. We also know at some point that Alia fuses together the Fox Miraculous and the Ladybug Miraculous, so at the end of the Akuma fight, does Marinette maybe give her earrings to Alia temporarily, so they're definitely safe and Lila doesn't suspect anything? Maybe, perhaps, and it does raise the question, well, if Alia transforms with it, does she find the letter? I'm assuming she can. She has the ability to, but it also raises the question, did Marinette replace it after the end of Sudden Onset? All this time I've just assumed she has, but we don't actually know for certain. So, I don't know, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. I do not know. However, it seems at the end of the Akuma fight, Cat Noir sees someone that makes him very angry, and he runs off. Initially, I thought he was fighting with Rena Rouge, or Rena Bug, whatever she's going to be called in this instance. However, I realised last night that I'm stupid. Why would he do that? He found out in Rocketeer that Alia was Rena Rouge. So why would he immediately move to go and fight her? I don't know. So I'm also thinking, because when you watch the fight, in the screenshots I got, you can see, like, pink marks of, like, when he's hitting the weapon of the other person. Pinky purple marks. So part of me thinks, oh, he's fighting Chrissy Pop. But then why would he just run off? Why would he not tell other people he's seen her? You know what I mean? It does seem a little bit odd. Anyway, at home, and very importantly, this is still during the daytime, Marinette is baking. She's downstairs on the ground floor. She opens the oven, and I think there's either something in the oven, or perhaps Uncle Wang, who at this point may have been swapped with Lila, or Lila was in disguise. He has said something, or done something, that doesn't align with who her uncle is. That's just very strange, very odd, and she starts to realise, oh, that's not my uncle in the guest room. So she runs up the stairs, presses her ear to the door, she's like, no. And I think she may then continue on to her actual room, maybe check on all of her diaries, but perhaps one of them is gone, or two of them are gone. Or maybe all of them, I don't know. We're going to take Lila a while to read all of them anyway, if she takes them all. Now, I think a lot of people think the scene of Sabine on the phone to Wang, going, who's in our guest room then, happens at the same time Marinette is running up the stairs and pressing her ear to the door of the spare room. However, if you notice, on the scenes where she's running up the stairs, you can see the windows behind her. It's daytime. In the Sabine and Tom scene on the phone, you can see the windows behind them, and it's the evening. So these scenes don't take place at the same time. So I think Marinette realises quicker than her parents. So the real Uncle Wang rings Sabine and is like, hey, no, that's not me. Sabine starts panicking. Who's in our guest room then? And at the same time, Marinette is preparing for a showdown, and she's a bit nervous, but she's got her earrings back. She's ready to go for a mum's party. She takes out the regular earring she has and puts her Miraculous back on, because she needs to fight and she's ready for a Chrissy Pop showdown. I'm very excited about Secret Protocol. I think it's going to be excellent. And now on to Nemesis. And like I said, I'm not really sure we have as much for this one, but I definitely could be wrong, because obviously I am just guessing. And I think most of us have worked out this looks like it's going to be Marinette staging herself to get akumatized into Nemesis. So I think the episode could open with the second metro scene, and the reason I'm saying that is because everyone's in their hero outfits, and in the scene between Alia and Marinette, Alia looks like she starts the scene as Rena Rouge and then de-transforms. So I'm just trying to find a reason why she would be Rena Rouge, and perhaps it's directly after the meeting. I feel that would make sense. And honestly, as incriminating as a letter is, I really like the idea because Alia is so intelligent, and also I think it's more fun. I really enjoy the idea of Alia working out what's going on herself instead of just being told word for word, basically, in the letter. And as we saw, I think, at the end of Sadanonsi, she was on her way to working it out, realising slowly that, Marinette's story doesn't really add up, does it? No, it doesn't, Alia. You are correct. So perhaps Alia confronts her. I do think this argument is real. I don't think it's staged. And Marinette basically confesses. Alia isn't happy and she leaves. However, part of me is thinking, maybe it is staged, because Alia leaves with her Miraculous doll and you see Trix follow her down the stairs. So it's like, maybe she does know already and this is staged in order to get Marinette upsettish for an Akuma, but I don't know, Marinette looks genuinely upset to me. So I'm a bit confused, like you'd think if Alia was so betrayed, she'd rescind the Miraculous, or maybe she's like, actually, I think you're terrible, I'm going to keep my Miraculous to save Paris from the likes of you. Maybe it's something like that. But like I said, Marinette does feel genuinely upset, but also at the same time, I feel like Marinette is staging this for a reason, which that reason is to get more information on Chrissy Pop. Although, how she's going to record the information, because I do believe she works out that Lila is based in the catacombs, I'm not sure. Since, as we know, Akuma victims don't remember what happened when they were akumatized, which is why in Revelation, for example, Lila has Natalie send all that information to her phone, so she will remember instead of Natalie just telling her, because she won't when she's de-akumatized, she won't remember anymore. So maybe, I don't know, working with Pegasus, for example, Ladybug has managed to come up with a way to, I don't know, like, a bit like the police do when they can tell when someone's ringing from, kind of work out where the Akuma is, like, transmitting from, which is a really interesting word to use for it, since the power of the butterfly is transmission, right? So maybe they can do that and they narrow down her location. So Marinette and Alia argue. Marinette goes upstairs to the balcony, she screws up, rips up this picture of her and Alia, and she gets akumatized. We know this Akuma sequence is from this scene because during like the butterfly bit you can see the railings of her balcony behind her, and she's also sat in the same position as when she is upset, and she gets akumatized into Nemesis. But before we get onto Nemesis, part of me again is also wondering if this is staged, because we see Trix in the scene who flies into Alia's bag, but we see no Tiki. You'd think Tiki would be present for this, she's always out and around, even if she doesn't say anything. This is like a Marinette and Alia issue, I don't think she needs to say anything, but she's, usually around. And we can see Marinette's wearing the earrings. So perhaps the earrings she's wearing are fake, we know she's faked them before, for example in the Dark Owl. Maybe that's going on, I'm not quite sure. Maybe she's giving them to Alia again for safekeeping during the argument. I don't know, Lila doesn't need to be privy to the argument to know Marinette is upset. She just has to have her upset or angry and be able to akumatize it. Anyway, then we move on to Nemesis. So Nemesis usually I think means to a lot of us someone who is your enemy, and Nemesis is also the ancient Greek goddess of divine retribution, vengeance, and righteous balance. So again, someone who's your enemy, someone who you want to, get revenge on. And Nemesis is usually depicted, not always, but usually depicted as having wings. So Marinette is then akumatized into this stone statue with wings. Fun times. The powers, obviously, flying, some sort of really cool either vanishing trick or being able to fly at the speed of light, which makes it look like she disappears, and also this, like a light beam or something. I'm assuming if it touches you, that's probably bad news, but I'm not sure what it does exactly. And Nemesis, I would assume, if it's Marinette, she's possibly targeting Alia, and she's going after the Miraculous. That's what Chrissy Pop wants. Go after the Ladybug Miraculous. Marinette knows where it is. So I've got to find Alia. However, Alia, to keep it safe, does an illusion of Ladybug for Lila. Or, if Felix really is on this, perhaps he has made a sentient monster of Ladybug. I'm not sure though. Felix is missing in the other metro scene. Maybe something's happened to him. Maybe he's not happy. Or maybe, much like his excuse in the season 5 finale, this is human business, not sentient monster business. Mate, Felix, I don't know what to tell you. Literally everyone around you is a human. Maybe if you're not a fan of them, which same, maybe you should just go and live on a private island if you don't want to get involved in their business, However, I feel like Marinette does all this for intel on Lila, or Chrissy Pop rather, because it seems later on in the episode she is running through what seems to be, I assumed initially was the sewers. I'm pretty sure it's actually the catacombs. So you can see in this comparison here of Lila in the catacombs and Marinette, I think, in the catacombs. If you look at the bricks, they are quite big. If you look at the bricks of the sewers from El Torre de Piedra, they are much, much smaller, much thinner. So I think Marinette manages to work out where Lila is. Again, maybe some transmission device they've made somehow to track where the Akuma signal or whatever comes from, assuming it has one, I don't know. And Ladybug and Chrissy Pop have a showdown. I don't think either of them will win, because it's season 6. I'm pretty sure Lila's going to be the villain next season, so I don't think it's going to be recreation ending type events. I think it'll be dramatic and big, but I don't think, either of them's going to technically win, you know what I mean? But I think this episode and the one before it as well will basically pass the scent on, if you get what I mean, from Lila thinking Ladybug is Marinette, because she showed up too many times now that Marinette's been around doing something else, whether akumatized or captured by her uncle. She's just like, okay, fair enough, I was wrong, it's not her. So maybe at that point Lila's like, right, well, I'll try and work out who Cat Noir is instead, since she seems to have absolutely no inkling of who he could be. And maybe also we'll find out what was that lightning at the end of season 5, because I still don't know. No idea. I'd love for it to be revealed as null. That would make my day, make my year. That would be great. So I think the episode could end with Ali and Marinette properly falling out though, which is why I don't think the Akuma will stage, but I do think it's a bit strange, to be fair. And then maybe we end with this Adrian scene where he's like, oh, you don't like my dad? Obviously by this point, Adrian at the end of Lady Chaos especially, I feel like he was really acquiesced by all the lies people were telling him, obviously, because they were lying to him, and I felt he ended that episode being really satisfied by everyone's lies that his dad was a good person. Whilst I wish Adrian would have been told immediately, I think with the way the writers have been writing him, for example with Lady Chaos, that they're kind of positioning Adrian as not knowing this season. I'm not expecting him to find out. I think Alia will know by the end, but I don't think Adrian will. It's not going to be he'll never find out. I think he will one day, just not right now, unfortunately. I wish he did. I wish he knew in the London special, but I'm not writing this. Anyway, and then I'm perhaps hoping the season will either end with confirmation of what the lightning is, or confirmation that Lila is Agley, Agley is working for Lila, who on the team, if anyone, is, a double agent. Is Natalie betraying her? I don't know. Something big and dramatic. And the only thing I'm not sure of from the whole of the finale stuff is this sewing scene that was in the Secret Protocol trailer. So I know it's from Secret Protocol, but I'm just not sure where it fits in, how it fits in, you know what I mean? Honestly, I'm not sure I'm correct. Sometimes when I go into an episode theory, I'm like, oh, I'm certain about this. Other times I'm like, This time was the latter. I'm not 100% confident. I am very excited though. I can't wait to see what goes down. Secret Protocol will be airing on the 1st of August on Disney Channel US, and then Nemesis on the 8th of August, the week after, also on Disney Channel US. And guess who was working both of those days? Me! So I will work all weekend, and then on Monday, you'll get my videos. Sorry about that. Literally can't do anything about it. It's just the way that it is. Anyway, besties, I'd love to know what you think about all of this. I did look through all the comments before I made these videos, so I know what you all think anyway, but I'd love to know if your thoughts have changed depending on what I have said, particularly about Uncle Wang, and also Alia learning the secret, and whether you think Marinette Sakuma is staged or not. So I'd love to know what you think, and I will see you in the next one.